What's going on, everyone? My name is Valid, and I'm fighting all the bosses in Crimson Desert without food so you don't have to bring 152 cooked meat to each boss fight. Today, we'll be fighting the Reed Devil. Pearl Abyss really stepped up the boss fights on this one, giving Reed Devil 2 health bars in 3 phases. However, I discovered a really big weakness that you can abuse to easily take him down. But first, we need to go over his phases. For Reed Devil's first phase attacks, he'll always start the phase with a swift stab directly after the cutscene ends, where Reed Devil will pause for a moment while holding his sword out, and then take a long lunge towards you. The pause is pretty long and he stands perfectly still during it, so watch him very closely and dodge towards him as soon as you see him move a muscle. If you end up blocking it, you'll block the majority of the damage, but you'll still get knocked over. However, you can recover off the ground quickly with the evasive roll skill that we learned from Hornsplitter. Also, if you die and restart the fight, he'll no longer start the fight with Swift Stab anymore. Reed Devil has 3 different melee combos, but all 3 begin the same way. He'll approach you and try to do a fast melee attack, but then he'll end the combo in one of 3 different ways. The first variation of the attack is his basic version, where as soon as the initial attack is over, he'll just quickly sheath his weapon before stealthing away. The second variation of the attack, he's going to do a second slash before he jumps back and then slowly sheaths his weapon. And the final variation of this attack is actually a red shield attack. Reed Devil will leap into the air, leaving slashing attacks underneath him on the ground, and after a moment he'll slam down where the slashes were before leaping away and then slowly sheathing his weapon. All 3 of these attacks have amazing ways of punishing him, but we'll go over all that in the strategy section. A couple things to note though, the range of these slashes is longer than you think, so if you're too close to the Reed Devil when they go off, he can actually hit you behind your shield. He will also occasionally try to fake you out and not actually attack once he appears from stealth, and then he backs off. Reed Devil's final move for this phase is a ranged attack, where he'll throw some kunai at you. You'll notice this one when he's trying to circle around you, and then you'll see him stop and put his hand into his coat. If you see that, immediately dodge sideways. While he's circling you, I found it best to just keep circling back in the same clockwise or counterclockwise direction, and if he's far enough away, the attack will just straight up miss you if you're strafing. But if he's closer, you will need to dodge. Reed Devil also has a counterattack mechanic, which we'll talk more about later, but if you get a hit off on him, he has a very high tendency to try to start another melee attack instead of trying to stealth and back off. This is the other mechanic that we'll use to punish him, which we'll also go over in the strategy section. Once Reed Devil's first health bar is gone, he'll go into his second phase, which he'll spawn several clones of himself that'll periodically try to attack you. There will also be 4 scarecrows in a rectangle shape around the arena, which you need to destroy all 4 scarecrows while avoiding the clones in order to push to phase 3. Ignore the clones and just immediately start roll spamming your way towards the scarecrows. The faster you get out of this phase, the better. You'll most likely run low on stamina after the second scarecrow, so if that happens, I found taking 1 or 2 normal steps between rolls is a good way to preserve some stamina with pretty minimal risk of the clones hitting you. However, if a clone does hit you, immediately try to dodge to get the evasive roll off, which will help you recover a majority of your stamina and also move you out of the remainder of the hits. When this phase starts, thanks to the cutscene, you'll always be facing the same direction. I personally prefer to move left going clockwise around the arena, which would leave me in a pretty good position to dodge an upcoming swift stab during the phase 3 transition. Once the 4th scarecrow goes down, Reed Devil will be back and, like I mentioned a moment ago, charging up a swift stab. Be prepared to dodge forwards and be ready to counterattack. You'll need to get a single hit off on him after his animation is over in order to start a cutscene, which will be the true beginning of phase 3. After the cutscene, get ready for a second swift stab, which he'll start the phase with. For Reed Devil's third phase, he'll have all the same attacks as phase 1, plus a few new annoying ones. Reed Devil gets a new ranged attack on this phase, which is similar to the kunai attack from the first phase. However, it's now an arcing slash attack that comes out a bit quicker than the kunai. Just like with the kunai though, dodge to the side to avoid the attack. He'll also summon clones occasionally, just like the ones from phase 2, which will try to take potshots at you. You don't need to fight the clones, and it's best to just drag them away from the clones and avoid them altogether. Just pay attention to your minimap for a second smaller red dot, and if you hear any unsheathing sounds or see your shield glowing red at times where they shouldn't be, get ready to dodge. Reed Devil also gets a new red shield attack in this phase, where he'll charge up for a moment before shooting a ranged beam attack at you. There is a very audible sound effect and then a red glow on his weapon right before he fires the attack off, which will be your cue to dodge sideways. And finally, Reed Devil gets an ultimate attack in this phase. He'll have a wind-up time where the sky will go dark and then an audible unsheathing sound effect. At the end of the sound effect, he'll send out 5 waves of arcing slash attacks, dashing to the side between each wave. The first 4 waves will come out at an even pace, with the final 5th wave having a delay before it. This attack's actually really easy to dodge, especially the later hits. Dodging to the side is the best way to avoid the hits, but he moves further and further away between each part of the combo, which gives you extra time to get out of the way. And now for the strategy. Reed Devil has 2 very abusable mechanics that make him very easy to bully. The first is how his melee attacks hit. As I was saying earlier, Reed Devil's attacks seem to hit a fair bit ahead of him, so dodging forwards into him and getting behind him is the best way to completely avoid his melee attacks and then get some hits in. Even if you happen to get clipped by the start of the attack, thanks to the evasive roll skill from Hornsplitter, you can still dodge out of the remainder of it and get behind him. After you dodge, you should have time to get at least 1 light hit in, but if you manage to get fully behind him, you can at least get 3 hits off on him before he can recover and turn around. And the other mechanic we'll be abusing is his counterattack mechanic. If you hit Reed Devil after one of his combos, most of the time he's going to try to melee attack again instead of trying to dodge away. Meaning, we can pretty much bait him into staying melee, and then just constantly dodge behind him, hit him again, force him to counterattack, and use another melee attack again. Rinse and repeat until he's pretty much dead. Now, he won't always try to do the melee counterattack, so you still need to be aware of his other moves, but the vast majority of the time he will. In order to abuse his melee hits in phase 1 and 3, which follow-up he uses will determine how we punish him. If he just uses the basic melee attack where he stands still and sheaths his weapon after the hit, just hit him immediately after your dodge animation ends. 1 hit if you're in front of him, or 3 if you're directly behind him. If he does the second variation where he does a follow-up hit and then jumps away, you can force palm in order to reclose the gap and then stagger him and follow up with a single melee hit. And if he does the red shield attack follow-up, just move out of the initial slashes that linger while he's in midair, and then follow up with a force palm to close the gap into a single melee hit. These can be done from both him naturally attacking you, or from forcing him to counterattack after hitting him. Just don't get greedy, only attempt 1 light attack and be ready to dodge, or 3 light attacks if you get directly behind him. There's a second way to abuse him that I'm just going to briefly go over, which uses the same idea with the counterattack mechanic, but only if you're confident with your perfect guard skills. So how you do this one is, instead of dodging behind him after the attack, perfect guard at the very start of his melee combo. Do 1 hit, and then prepare to perfect guard again. However, in all the time I spent trying out both strategies, the dodge method worked significantly more consistently. But that's it for this one, guys. Abusing Reed Devil's melee counter mechanic really trivialized this fight for me, and hopefully my strategy will help you guys too. This time I'm going to be posting one of my no-heal practice attempts instead of my actual kill video, since I actually abused him so hard with the perfect guard cheese that I didn't even see any of the new mechanics on phase 3, and that was pre-nerf too. So instead, I had to go back and keep fighting him for you guys. Feel free to stick around if you want to check out the full strategy in action, but otherwise, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.
His words still hang like a noose upon me. How could you suffer off this mortal coils and honor our family with your death? Have you ever felt the need for a scarecrow's protection? Whenever someone stood in your way. yourself behind a mask.